Good noon, all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. I'm Nikita and I welcome you to BYJU'S Exam Prep. I welcome you to this session for XAT 2023, right? So today we look at how to tackle a reading comprehension from from any XAT paper. Okay, so we'll pick up a reading comprehension from a previous year's XAT paper and we'll see how to tackle an RC in XAT, right? That is going to be the agenda for today. Hi Varun, good noon, good noon. A very happy Navratri to you too. Hi, good noon Subramanyam. Right. So let's begin with our discussion. But before that, I have a couple of announcements for you. So as you know that we have already planned this. Just a second. Let me just change the color of my marker. Yes. So we have planned to launch this All India Open mock. This is the next one. Okay. So you had one earlier as well. This is our mock 11 and this will be live from 30th September to 9th October. You can register for it right now. The link will be shared in the chat box and again, take it within the window. You'll not be able to take it after the window once the window gets over. And of course, just like the previous All India mock, you'll get all these things out of this mock as well. So expert solutions, question wise, right, mock attempts by experts. And of course, whenever you take a mock, you are able to identify your strengths and weaknesses. That is the purpose behind taking a mock. So do take this, it will help you. And apart from this, the last lab to NMAT is already going on. So I hope those of you who are targeting NMAT are attending these sessions. They happen at 3 p.m. every day, right? Okay. So now we can begin with our discussion today. Yes. Okay. But before that, one more announcement. So yes, we are launching this series for CAT 2022. I am Bangalore PYQP series. Why? Because I am Bangalore is setting the paper this year. So they set the paper earlier in 2007 and 2016. So let's see the previous year papers for these years. Let's see their solutions, the kinds of RC passages, let's say, that were asked, the kind of DILR sets that were asked. So we look at all of that, right? And through this, we'll see what the difficulty level is, what the trends have been. Okay, although these are just two papers, but what the trend has been, what is the difficulty level that IIM Bangalore usually goes for, right? So this is starting from 1st October. So do attend this on our YouTube channel, right? Okay. Now, just a second. Let me see if there are any messages. Yes. Hi Sanjeev. Good afternoon. Okay, took it. All right. Good, Varun. Good. Hi Harshad. Good noon. Non-cat. Okay. Okay. So Subramanyam, see, we have one course. Okay. So this is a comprehensive course which prepares you for all the entrance tests out there, right? So we don't have separate courses for separate exams as such. So for instance, the if you are planning for this year's let's say non-CAT exams, then you will be able to join a CAT 2022 batch only, right? It's called a CAT 2022 batch, but then we prepare you for all the exams. Similarly, if you're targeting for your various CAT and non-CAT exams next year, we've launched a CAT 2023 batch for that. Again, it's called CAT 2023, but we prepare you for all the exams there, right? So it's a comprehensive course preparing you for various exams. Okay. Now, uh, how we manage big RCs by breaking into small parts. Okay, so Sanjeev, because we are discussing XAT passages, our ambit of discussion will be confined to the kind of RCs that XAT asks. So if you look at your previous 5-year papers, you will not encounter extremely lengthy RC passages. At the most, you will see a 600-word RC passage, right? So our discussion today will be confined to those RC passages, right? For a general discussion on how to break an RC passage into small parts, we keep on conducting RC sessions, RC toolkit, the reading comprehension toolkit that will help you. Moreover, I will show this here as well. See, even if it is a short RC, you do have to understand the key idea of each and every paragraph. So this is something that you can learn from this RC also that I've brought for you today. Okay. All right. Then coming to all right. Good noon, Nidul. Right. So why am I showing you the XAT pattern? Today's discussion is about RC passages, right? So why am I showing you this entire pattern? Because see, how much time you are going to spend on the RC passages will be determined by how much time you have in all, right? So you have 165 minutes for 75 questions here, right? That means on an average you have 2.2 minutes per question on an average. So usually, and again I stress on the usually XAT asks you 4 RC passages, okay, and usually they have 3 questions each. 4 RC passages with 3 questions each. So for a 3 question RC passage, that means you need to spend about 6 to 7 minutes on an average. Okay, so this is to establish, to showing you this pattern so that we can establish that for an RC passage on an average you have 6 to 7 minutes for a 3 question RC passage, right? Okay, now coming to the previous year's analysis of the verbal and logical ability section. If you see, 4 RC passages were indeed asked along with 2 poems. Now, these 4 RCs all carried 3 questions each. And if you see, out of these 3 questions, in most of them 1 to 2 are doable. That means moderate to difficult. And this one you could say easy to moderate. Right? So the level of XAT passages tends to be moderate or above moderate. Right? So now that we know how much time do we have, what is the difficulty level of an RC passage, let's proceed to understanding the next thing about XAT, which is that it is not as standardized, let's say, as your CAT exam, where it is fixed that this will be the length of an RC passage, these will be the number of questions per RC passages, these will be the total number of questions asked from RC passages. Those things are not fixed here, right? So 15 questions, for instance, were asked in XAT 2021 itself. So instead of the usual 12, 13 question thing, we had 15 questions, and see, instead of 4 RCs, we had 6 RCs. So 3 of them were your usual 3 question RCs, but the other 3 were 2 question RCs. They were of course much shorter. So we had 200 to 250 word RC passages here. 200 to 250 word RC passages. So now this chart here, this analysis here is to show you that your RC passages, the number of RC passages can vary, the length can vary, the number of questions per RCs can vary. So prepare accordingly. Right? Okay. Now, as I told you that the length can vary. So for instance, if I analyze just the previous 2 years for you, because I've shown you the analysis for these two, the 2 question RCs were of 200 to 250 words and the 3 question RCs were of 300 to 550 words, right? So even for the 3 question RCs, the length can vary considerably. All right. Now, it's very important whenever we prepare for even one topic from a particular section of an entrance test that we know how much we will be required to score in that particular section, so that we can decide, okay, how much of it can come from RC passages, how much from critical reasoning questions, how much from vocabulary and grammar. So these are the verbal ability and logical reasoning section. Some students call it VALR, some students call it verbal and logical ability. So for this section in XAT 2022, look at the cutoffs. Okay, so 8.65 marks for the verbal and logical ability section, the entire section, right? Then this was for the HR course. Now for the BM course, okay, the business management course, it differed for males and females, 7.85 marks, 7.4 marks. So the cutoffs tend to be low. What is the benefit of this? When the individual cutoffs, when the sectional cutoffs are low for a particular paper, no, that gives you more chance to maximize your score in those sections which happen to be your strengths. So if the VLR section is your strength, you can maximize your score here, right? Whereas if let's say QA is not your strength, again the cutoffs for QA were also pretty low. So you can therefore be selective in QA. And vice versa is also true. So if VLR is not your strength, then you have to focus on clearing the cutoffs here, right? Of course, scoring a little above the cutoffs, right? And you can maximize your score in your QA section, in your decision making section. This is the advantage of knowing what the sectional cutoffs are, because students stress a lot over the XAT verbal ability and decision making sections. But we need to also understand how much we need to stress, right? So these were the sectional cutoffs last year. Hope this puts things in perspective as to how much you have to score from the particular section, from let's say the 26 questions of VA and LR. I am not saying this is the maximum that you have to score, this is the threshold. You always have to try to maximize your score, right? Okay, so now that all of this has been told to you, how much time to actually spend on verbal and logical ability? So students say, सीधा सीधा इतना बता दो हमें that how much should we spend, okay, on VALR. So again, see 2.2 minutes per question. So on an average, if I just look at an average and I give equal weightage to all the sections, assuming that you would spend equal time on all the sections, then on an average you would spend about 55 minutes. Okay, about 55 minutes on the VALR section. Now some students for whom VALR is a strength, they do spend 50 to 55 minutes in a go at a stretch on VALR, and then they go to their other sections. Some students, what they do is they divide their paper into 45 minute intervals, right? For all the three sections, they first spend 45 minutes in which they attempt the easy to moderate question. They try to maximize their score like this, and then they go for a second round. Now in the round 2, they now tackle the relatively difficult question selectively. So see what strategy works for you. 55 minutes, 50 to 55 minutes in one go, or 45 minutes first for easy to moderate questions, right? So that will determine how much time you spend on it. On an average, this is the time that I am giving you, right? You can of course choose to save some time from VLR for your QA, and again vice versa, depending on what your strengths and weaknesses are, right? Okay. Now, for those I do not know the individual cutoff, Subramaniam, right? So I had information for these two most popular courses. On one RC passage also we have established that on an average this is the time that you should spend. All right. Now, coming to, just a second, yeah, 6 to 7 minutes. No, clear. How to tackle a XAT RC passage? So see, of course, at the end of the day, it is a reading comprehension passage only. Just that in XAT, what happens is that the difficulty level of the language tends to be higher. Usually, again, this is the usual scenario, and it's not something that will be true for each and every RC passage. You do get your normal RC passages also. So for instance, the RC passage that I have chosen today, that is not of a very difficult level, right, in terms of its language. Now, so this is one challenge that XAT can throw, that the difficulty level of language can be high. Another challenge is a genre-based challenge, which is that it can ask you philosophical passages, right? So philosophy can be asked, then political philosophy. Now it's philosophy, but within that also we are talking about political theories such as communism, socialism, okay, the concept of labor and capital, etc. So the genres can be slightly abstract. This is another challenge that XAT can throw at you. And the third challenge is of course related to questions. Sometimes because XAT has 5 options, sometimes some of these options are very narrow. Sometimes you will feel that there are 2 incorrect answers, right? That is also possible. You will feel that there are 2 options that are inappropriate, that don't make sense, right? So, what I meant was that there are 2 options that can be marked as the answer. There are 2 options that can be marked as the answer, right? So basically, yes, when narrow options happens, this happens, right? So, and another thing that can happen is that in terms of your questions, you have further application questions. Okay, so in terms of options, because there are 5 options, you need time to sort, first of all. Secondly, some of your options can be very close. In questions such as what cannot be inferred, right, or what is false, sometimes you might feel that, okay, 2 options are false. This is what I meant to say. through the second point. Okay, and you can get a lot of further application questions. We'll tackle one further application question today, so you'll understand what I'm talking about. So these are the challenges that you have to tackle in a XAT RC. The language, the genre, and the question difficulty level governed by the options and the question types. So how do you do it? These two can be tackled through reading itself. When you read complex material of diverse genres, read complex material of diverse genres, and you will be able to navigate this difficulty very easily. Okay, now here's a question. What are the topics for case study analysis usually asked by colleges after clearing the entrances? So Varun, one is that this differs from college to college, right? Secondly, if I have to broadly divide them, so what kind of topics then that are there that you can be asked? So one is what we call topical. Something that is topical in nature means that okay, it's related to what is happening around us right now. So current affairs, or it is associated with a particular social, economic, political issue, right? The other type can be the general or the more abstract ones, right? The others can be relatively more abstract. Now, so for instance, if I say my name is Red, write an essay on this. My name is Red. This is your topic, right? So this is an abstract topic. So these are the two kinds of topics that you broadly prepare for your WAT stage or for your, let's say, case discussion stage, right? What are the specific topics? We will discuss that once, let's say, the entrance exams happen, right? We'll discuss that. Okay. So coming back, the first two problems can be tackled only by your reading. Okay, so please read. I have given you so many sources in the previous sessions. So for instance, even XAT papers have asked, articles from eon.co. Even they have asked articles, RC passages from NYT, from the Guardian, right? Then they have referred to various non-fiction books related to philosophy, related to political philosophy. So non-fiction excerpts. Right. I even suggested this page called Arts and Letters Daily to you, where you'll find complex reading material, and that too from diverse genres. So do read from a wide variety of sources, and do read complex material, the kind that you think you can be questioned on. And how do you gauge that? Solve the previous year's XAT papers. They'll give you an idea of the actual difficulty level. Okay. As far as the questions are concerned, that is what I will show you today, that how to navigate XAT RC questions. Okay, so let's learn that through a XAT RC itself, instead of my giving you a lot of theoretical gyan about it, right? Okay, so let us have a look. This is our XAT passage. Okay, I have put just one paragraph on one slide, because what we'll do is, after reading that paragraph, I will ask you what is the most important sentence in that paragraph, or what is the key idea of the paragraph. Basically, my aim is that as you read, you comprehend side by side. You understand each paragraph side by side, and you are able to tell me what is the key idea, what is the gist, what is the main point, no matter by which name you call it. Okay, main point, key idea, gist, or sometimes it can be identified by just looking at the most important sentence in the paragraph. So this is what I want you to tell me after each paragraph, right? Read it. Yes. Okay. Tell me what is the key idea that the author is trying to convey through this paragraph. All right. Yes, come on. What is the key idea? Okay, identify the most important sentence for me. Identify the most important sentence of this paragraph for me. All right. This doesn't work if you do not participate. Ultimately, see, in the exam, you have to identify the key ideas. I can very well spot up one sentence, or I can very well give you the key idea right now, but that won't help you. Trying to make comparisons of behavioral traits of humans and animals. Not exactly. The purpose, I think we are basically trying to gauge uh, not the behavioral traits in general. That's a very broad term to, give the key idea of this paragraph. We're talking about one specific thing here. What is that one specific thing? Sanjeev, you tell me. Sanjeev Subramanyam, numerical information on animals and humans. Is it? Is it giving me some numerical information on humans and animals? That there were so many humans in so and so era, so many animals in so and so era. It's not giving me numerical information on animals and humans. Okay, all right. Let me phrase it for you. See, considering the multitude, considering that, number of situations, so many situations in which we humans use numerical information, life without numbers is inconceivable. We can't imagine our lives without numbers today. But what was the benefit of numerical competence for our ancestors before they became Homo sapiens? See, wherever questions are raised, no, you should become extra alert, because probably the author will try to answer these questions later on, right? So the author raises this question that what was the benefit of numerical competence for our ancestors? Which ancestors? The pre-Homo sapiens ancestors. We're not talking about humans only, pre-human ancestors. Why would animals crunch numbers in the first place? So probably our pre-human ancestors were animals. So why would animals want to process numbers? उनके लिए क्या use है numerical information का? That is what this paragraph is questioning on. And now it gives an answer also. See, it turns out, so this is the most important part. It turns out that processing numbers offers a significant benefit of survival, which is why this behavioral trait is present in many animal populations. So, this paragraph is trying to tell us as to why, let's say, our pre-human ancestors and why animals might possess numerical competence. Okay, so this paragraph is answering this question. Why our pre-human ancestors and animals possess numerical competence? Okay, so the answer is that it offers a significant benefit for survival. So if I have to give the key idea of this paragraph, I would say that numerical competence or the ability to process numbers offers benefits for survival for animals, and for our pre-human ancestors also it did the same, right? So this is the key idea of para 1 here. And you don't have to write it down separately somewhere. You can just highlight the important words. So use numerical information, ancestors. Why? Because it offers a significant benefit for survival, and even animals today have it. That's it. 1, 2, this particular fragment, and animals. Okay, coming to the second paragraph. Okay, read this again. and tell me what is the most important sentence, if you can spot one, or what is the gist, what is the key idea. There could be multiple key ideas also, remember that. It's not that one paragraph can contain only one key idea. Right now, Varun, I'm not looking at the main idea of the entire passage. I'm looking at the key ideas of various passages, or various paragraphs. So that's why I'm showing you various paragraphs one by one. So what I just said was the key idea of this paragraph, right? Maybe it is the key, maybe it is the main idea of the entire passage. We will be able to know only after reading the entire passage. This is a myth that it's the first paragraph will tell you, or will always tell you what is the main idea of the entire passage. Okay. Coming to para 2 again. Yes. Let's see what you say. So what is the key idea of this paragraph? Yes. I see two key ideas here in this paragraph. One is about detailing the benefits to the animals. What are the benefits to animals? Yes. So this part. Basically, what I introduced in the previous paragraph here, that it has significant benefits for survival. Now I am detailing those. So this is an elaboration. It is an explanation of the benefits for animals. Okay. And another thing begins from here. Another key idea begins from here. Yes. So the second key idea is, so bacteria. Okay. Let's look at it in terms of the sentences that the author has already written. After all this explanation, okay, basically what we are trying to focus on is that even bacteria possess numerical competence. Even bacteria, single-celled microscopic bacteria, they possess numerical competence, or the ability to process numbers. How do I know this? Because in recent years, microbiologists have discovered something, that they have a social life. They are able to sense the presence or absence of other bacteria. In other words, they can sense the number of bacteria. So if you just asked me to give the gist of this paragraph, I would say this paragraph elaborates the benefits of numerical competence for animals and shows that even bacteria possess this numerical competence, as they're able to sense the number of bacteria around them. Right. So this is the key idea of this, the two key ideas in fact that were present in this paragraph. Okay. All right then. Let's have a look at the third paragraph. Okay. Let's see what it tries to show us. First thing that you have to sense is it is an example. It is an example. So that means it is going to support something that has already been stated earlier. It is going to support a claim made earlier. Now read. So here, what is the key idea? If I ask you, here it is very clearly present in just one sentence. Why the author has given us all of this information? The key idea is present in just one sentence. Special properties, no, see, related. What I see in the chat box is that you are focusing on isolated pieces of information. You are not relating it to the story that we have covered so far. The story that we have covered so far is, why would animals possess numerical competence, or why would our ancestors, our pre-human ancestors, possess numerical competence? Because it offers them advantages for survival. Then we come to the discussion that even bacteria possess this numerical competence. And now I am giving you an example of it. Right? So relate it to the story so far. That is why it is one single passage, right? All the paragraphs are related to each other. These are not isolated bits of information. Right? So here also, this is the main point of the author in this paragraph, that Vibrio fishery, they can distinguish when they are alone and when they are together. And they display bioluminescence only when they are together. So they can distinguish when they are alone, when they are together, because they display bioluminescence only when there is a certain number of them. Right? I hope this is clear, that through this paragraph again I am trying to show that even Vibrio fishery, that this particular marine bacterium Vibrio fishery, it also has numerical competence, because it displays bioluminescence only when the bacteria surrounding it reaches a certain number. Right? Okay. And now let's look at the last paragraph. Let's see. So this continues that example, continues the example of Vibrio fishery. All right. It explains. What does this paragraph do? It talks about the idea of quorum sensing. Okay. All right. So quorum sensing is how, basically it explains how they are actually able to sense, how they are able to sense that the certain number that is required for them to glow has been reached. So it is explaining this process, that when they grow to a certain cell number of bacteria, all of them produce light simultaneously. But how do they sense it? How do they realize that it has reached a certain cell number? This has been explained in this paragraph. Okay, so we've explained this in this paragraph, that they do this by a process called quorum sensing. Okay, now what is quorum sensing? They secrete communication molecules, and the concentration of these molecules in the water increases in proportion to the cell number. The more the number of bacteria, the more these communication molecules. And when this molecule hits a certain amount called a quorum in general also means the minimum number of members that must be present for a meeting to proceed, or for a meeting to be able to vote on. Right? So when the meeting hits a certain amount called a quorum, it tells the other bacteria how many neighbors there are, and all bacteria glow. Okay, so after those molecules reach a certain number, the various bacteria are able to sense it. So this is called quorum sensing. All right. And one important point one important point that we have to understand here is, yes, the key idea mentioned here is the idea of quorum sensing, through which the bacteria are able to communicate with each other, and the fact that all bacteria use this sort of quorum sensing, not just Vibrio fischeri, all bacteria use it. So this was also an important point here, right? So through this, we have actually gauged the key ideas. And if I have to summarize it for you, so normally students ask me that they find it difficult to summarize key ideas in 8 to 10 words. So I have tried my best to confine myself to 8 to 10 words here in various key ideas. Although this is just for your practice. See, writing these key ideas down is something that you are doing as a crutch initially. In the exam, you won't have the time to write these key ideas down. That's why I sometimes ask you, just tell me the most important sentence. Because even if you retain that, in a way you've retained the key idea. Right? So, para 1 said ancestors pre-Homo sapiens probably had numerical competence for survival benefit. Okay. And when we say ancestors, no, pre-Homo sapiens, we are in a way considering them to be animals also. Right? So then, para 2 says, para 2 then elaborates the multiple benefits of representing number for animals, and also tells me that even bacteria can sense the number of other bacteria. Para 3 gives the example of Vibrio fischeri and says that they produce light on reaching certain numbers, bioluminescence. Right. Para 4 then says that fischeri and all bacteria, they use quorum sensing to communicate numbers. Right? Okay, no, there are no type in the answer questions for RC passages in XAT. All the questions are going to be MCQs only. This is just for your understanding. If you've identified the key ideas successfully, that means you've comprehended the passage well. Right? So this is for your understanding. Now, let's talk about, so we have now understood the passage, but we have to solve questions also. The job does not end just there. So how to eliminate options in XAT particularly, considering that there are 5 options. First is that you should be able to understand what the question is asking you and whether this answer lies in a particular para. If it lies in a particular para, go back to that para and reread the information given. Okay, reread it, understand it again. Right? Why I am saying that? Because it ensures accuracy. Then, when you eliminate your options, see, there can be 3 types of options, right, broadly. Those that are true as per the passage, those that are absolutely false, and those that are not given or we can't say anything about them, the can't say type, right? So, your answer, in case you have been asked what is true as per the passage, will be this. Your answer, in case it is asked what is not true as per the passage, will be this one and not the can't say types. Not true, because जो false है वो तो absolutely not true है ना. So this is going to be your answer, right? So categorize your options like this, and it will be, make the process of elimination much easier for you, right? Let's do this. So, and this technique that I'm telling, true, false, not given, it's a proven technique to hunt specific information and then decide on it. It's a proven scanning technique that I'm discussing with you, right? Let's have a look at question 1. Which of the following statements cannot be inferred from the passage? Cannot be inferred. Now see, before going to the options, I want to say, when you have cannot be inferred, so anything that is true as per the passage cannot be your answer, because that can definitely be inferred, right? Anything that is of the type false and can't say can be your answer. Between these two, you will of course prefer the false one, because that can definitely not be inferred from the passage, right? So this is what you should keep in mind. Now, look at your options. Cannot be inferred from the passage. Ancestors of Homo sapiens exploited resources in groups. Ancestors of Homo sapiens exploited resources in groups. Let's check this once. Right. So, if you look at para 2, it says several studies examining animals in their ecological environments suggest that representing number enhances an animal's ability to exploit food resources. hunt prey, avoid predation, navigate in its habitat, and persist in social interactions. Representing number. That means representing number does not mean that they have to hunt in groups or they have to exploit food sources in groups. It simply means that they're able to process numbers. So this talks about the ability of processing numbers, not necessarily hunting in groups, right? So nothing about hunting in groups has been given to me in the passage. Can I say that? Not given? Yes, not given. So I have categorized this as not given, right? Okay, and because it is not given, I can't say anything about it. So not given, can't say, interchangeable. Now, what about 2? Ancestors of Homo sapiens used numerical competence. True, false, or not given? Ancestors of Homo sapiens used numerical competence. True, false, or not given? Tell me. This is, tell me, I want more responses. This is absolutely true, yes. That's what we are trying to establish. That's what we have been trying to establish now from the first paragraph. Then we continue that discussion even in the second paragraph, that this is perhaps why the ancestors of Homo sapiens may actually have possessed numerical competence, because it offers so many benefits for survival. Then we talk about bacteria. Even before these multi-celled animals came about, bacteria exploited quantitative information even back then. So yes, this is something that's true as per the passage, and because it is true, it cannot be the answer. Eliminated. Okay. Ancestors of Homo sapiens sensed numbers. True, false, not given. Yes, true, false, not given. Tell me. If second one is true, the third is also related to the second one only, no? It is also related to the second one, that they were able to sense numbers, right? That is how they were able to, let's say, avoid predation, avoid being hunted. They were able to hunt prey better because they were able to sense numbers. So even this is true and therefore cannot be the answer. Okay. Ancestors of Homo sapiens hunted in groups. Very similar to first. Just like this information has not been provided to us. Okay. Even hunting was talked about in the very same sentence that I have just read for you. There also it said that representing number enhances their ability to exploit food resources and to hunt prey. So again, this is not given whether they hunted in groups or not. Right? Okay. How about the fifth one? Ancestors of Homo sapiens interacted solely means only, using numbers. Ancestors of Homo sapiens interacted only using numbers. Let's go back. See this. I am saying that studies examining animals suggest that representing number, processing numbers enhances, improves. It improves an animal's ability. To persist in social interactions. That means it is something that is adding to it. It is something that is improving it. We cannot say, in fact, it would be incorrect to say that they relied solely on numbers for these social interactions. Right? If this ability is only enhancing their social interactions, that means they were not communicating solely through numbers. They were not interacting solely through numbers. This is just enhancing it. So this becomes false as per the passage. This is false. Okay, because the number crunching ability enhanced their social interactions. That means it only added to the social interactions. We can't say that they interacted solely using numbers, right? Because if that were the case, then we would not say enhance. We would say that it made those interactions possible. So this is false, and that's why what should be the answer? Fifth, this is something that cannot be, we can be very sure about it that this cannot be inferred from the passage. Does this make sense? So in your exam, you may have to navigate options like 1 and 4. 2 and 3 you will be able to eliminate very quickly. In between 1, 1 and 4 you may start thinking. If you are a very idealistic student particularly, you may start thinking, in groups to kahin nahi diya. How can we say in groups? But you have to choose that option here which is the least appropriate, right? Which is something that cannot be inferred at all, right? Hope this makes sense. And we go to the next question. So now you attempt this on your own. I've shown you how to attempt one question. It's anyway not very difficult. Based on the passage, which of the following statements best defines quorum sensing in bacteria? Okay, so what is quorum sensing? Extremely easy question. Sorry. Okay. Others, Subramaniam, what do you say? Varun, what about you? Sanjeev? Okay, Subramaniam also says 2. What is quorum sensing? Okay. See, this shows that we need to practice more. Why? Because when you learn the concepts of solving RC questions, no, when you learn how to approach RC questions, when you learn various question types, there itself we tell you that be very alert towards words such as only, okay, definitely, okay, basically those words that make something very certain or make something extreme. So only, definitely, most, best, right? You have to be wary of these superlatives, of these extremely definitive words. So is my passage saying this that they communicate only in numerical terms with others? There is no other way that is possible. Has my passage given any information about the other ways? It has not, right? So can I then say that they communicate only in numerical terms with each other? What is quorum sensing? See, now again, I did not go back, but see, if you face any confusion in the exam, please go back. See this. Quorum sensing. What is quorum sensing? The bacteria vote with signaling molecules. The vote gets counted, and if a certain threshold is reached, every bacterium responds. So basically, they are able to sense when the molecules have reached enough number for them to light up, right? So they are using this quorum sensing to communicate their cell number, right? And they are able to understand when the molecules have reached a certain number. That is quorum sensing. The ability to sense, when a minimum number, what is quorum? The minimum number that is required when a minimum number has been reached, right? So that they can light up. So what should be the answer then? Discern is they are able to understand, where they are able to gauge, actually they are able to distinguish, right? So perceive, understand that okay, enough numbers have been reached. Okay, gauge, that is the meaning of discern, distinguish. So bacteria communicate only in numerical terms with others? No. Okay, and with what do we mean by others? Then bacteria chat only when they are in groups. Chatting, have I talked about chatting in the passage? And that too only when they are in groups. Chatting has not been discussed at all, not given in the passage at all. They multiply only till they reach the required numbers. No, this is also not given to us. Multiplication was not the point of discussion in quorum sensing. Multiplication नहीं, group की बात हो रही थी. वो इस time reproduce multiply नहीं कर रहे हैं. They're not reproducing multiplying. Eliminated. Okay, so not given, not given. Okay, do not communicate beyond certain numbers, not given to us. They communicate only in numerical terms, not given to us, right? First is the answer here. That is the meaning of quorum sensing. Okay, bacteria respond when they discern enough numbers around them. That is quorum sensing. Okay, कि आपने sense कर लिया, bacteria ने sense कर लिया, bacteria is now able to understand that we have reached a certain number and therefore we can all light up. Right? Hope this makes sense to you. One is the answer here. Right, and be very careful about these extreme words, these superlative words. They actually may become suspicious options. Right. Now comes a further application question. So I told you that XAT sometimes gives you further application questions. What are these? Here, a concept from the passage is taken. Okay, so it could be an idea from the passage, it could be a concept taken from the passage, and then it is applied to an external situation. Applied to an external situation. Right. So as to check, whether you understand that principle or not, and are you able to apply it to an external situation or not. Okay, so what do I mean by this? See this. Which of the following statements is not based on the premises of the passage, on the basic argument of the passage? Basis is premises basically, okay. The central argument of the passage. So argument क्या है passage का? Can anybody tell me what is the central argument of this passage? The passage is trying to show us how not just humans but also animals and our pre-human ancestors displayed numerical competence because of its attendant benefits, because of the benefits that it had, with a particular reference to the discussion on bacteria. Right? So now let's see what is not based on this. Yes. First says, now all of these situations are external situations. They are not mentioned in the RC passage. They are not given in the RC passage. You just have to apply that basic principle of organisms using numerical competence because of the benefits that it has. First, people protest in large numbers because it helps them get their voices heard. So here, are people using numerical competence because of its benefit? Are they using numerical competence because of its benefits? Yes, right? So people, because they understand numbers, because they understand this, that the larger the number, the more our voices will get heard. That means they're using numerical competence, their ability to process numbers because of its benefit. So first one is indeed based on the premises of the passage. And it cannot be the answer. Right? Okay. So let's look at 4. Okay, let's look at 4. Politicians rally with numbers. When we have political rallies, people turn out in huge numbers. So politicians rally with numbers to woo their undecided voters. So politicians are using numerical competence, their ability to process numbers, right? Why are they using them? Because they know that it can benefit them, that it has a benefit for them. Okay. So again, are we not using the premise of the passage here? We are using numerical competence because of its benefits. So 4 also cannot be the answer. 3. Let's have a look at 3. To de-escalate a border tension, countries carry out mirror deployment. What is mirror deployment? Now here you needed to know its meaning. Basically, mirroring the number of soldiers, the positioning of soldiers exactly as the enemy country or the opposing party has done, right? The other country has done. So whenever there are border tensions, what do countries do? The exact number of soldiers that are present on the other side will be present from our side also. That is mirror deployment. So again, what are countries doing? They are using their numerical competence, their ability to process numbers, to see how many numbers are there on the other side and then to mirror it. Why? Because it has a benefit of de-escalating a border tension. So even this matches. We are left with 2 and 5. We are left with 2 and 5. Right? Now, a lot of students mark 5 here as the answer. Okay, because they feel that there is nothing mentioned about numbers in 5. Okay, there is nothing mentioned about numbers in 5. They feel that. But teams, they fear a red card. Okay, they fear a red card. See, numerical competence is being used by humans because it has benefits. So here, when would you fear a red card? When you understand that getting a red card would mean a disadvantage for your team. Let's say your points will decrease. Yes, your points will decrease, or your runs will not be counted, or your number of goals, probably a goal will be given to the other team, the opponent team, right? So that means you do possess numerical competence, and because you understand the meaning that the red card can mean a numerical disadvantage to my team, that is why you fear it, right? So your numerical competence has a benefit that you are able to process this, that a red card would mean decreased runs, decreased score, and therefore a disadvantage for me. Again, you are displaying your numerical competence here because showing it has an advantage for you. It helps you to win. It helps you to understand whether you're winning or losing. So even this is actually based on the premises of the passage. So what is left? 2. Very good, Nidhul. 2 is the answer here. Okay. No one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. Does it show anything about numerical competence or the ability to understand numbers? Numerical competence by someone, let's say any organism here. The ability to process numbers by anybody. Does it show that? It does not show any ability to process numbers. Okay. And that is why this is unrelated. Moreover, it kind of gives an impression that you are nothing alone. That alone a person cannot do anything. A person can do something in a group only. That is not the idea that has been conveyed by my passage. That organisms can thrive only when they are together and not alone. Okay, so 2 is the answer here. This was a tricky question. Now, if you ask me, question 2 was not tricky. Question 2 was easy. Okay, question 1 required clever elimination. So I would say easy to moderate. And this one, we could say this was difficult. So that is what makes your XAT passages on the moderate side. Okay, I hope this is clear to you, everything that we have done so far. Anything that is not clear, you can ask me. Any way in which you're not convinced with eliminating options, you can ask. Okay. This is verbal ability, this is language. We can always have such discussions. And just to recapitulate what we've done, on an average, this is the amount of time that you have for a 3-question RC. Read and comprehend well in XAT. You do have ample amount of time. So time is not an issue. 2.2 minutes per question is a very good amount of time. Identify and retain the key ideas. A good understanding is essential to attempting a XAT passage. You can't skip chunks of information there. Do not get caught up in some 1 or 2 difficult vocabulary words. It's okay if you do not know their meanings. Just don't get so hung up about them that you forget the rest of the passage. Read and understand every option very, very carefully, because that is about close options. It is about weird options, right? So read and understand every option carefully and eliminate using this true, false, not given technique. Not given can also be termed as can't say. And always compare options and choose the one that is the most incorrect. You might feel that there are 2-3 options that are incorrect, but choose the one that is the most incorrect. Alright? Okay. Most inappropriate is what I mean. In the sense that this is not the answer. Yes, that is what I mean by most incorrect. I am not asking you to choose the incorrect answer, right? The one that is uh, the most likely candidate. This is what right? So this is our CAT 2023 course. Okay, somebody was asking about it earlier. And this is the material that you get, the expert guidance, the number of sessions, everything is mentioned here. In the chat box, the number of the counselors was also given to you. So you can contact them. You can in fact inquire about your XAT, IFT related concerns also with them. Okay. And I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you learned something from it. That was the entire purpose. And if yes, then please go and press the like button. Very important. And yes, do keep practicing, do keep attending sessions, and do practice your previous year papers. Very important. Right? We can stay connected over Telegram. These are our social media handles. Thank you for attending. IFT, is a different ball game, Subramaniam, because there you don't have such tricky questions. There, a lot of your questions are going to be direct questions, and therefore you can comfortably practice skimming and scanning there. So the focus in IFT is not to attempt RC passages completely entirely. The focus is to attempt the direct questions from each and every RC passage. Okay, so IFT question answers are much easier. Even the RC passages topics are much easier. All right. Welcome all of you. See you next time. Bye-bye.